Here we have a decut rump of Scotch beef. Traditionally, we would just slice this through into required steaks. What I want to do is to actually break this down into its three main mini primal muscles. So working from the underside, I want to remove a small tail muscle, or the rump tail. I'm going to follow the seam through and remove the rump cap, and then being left with the centre cut or the rump heart, I will then divide that into two separate muscles following that silver gristle in the centre. So let's start by just removing the rump tail. It's a small muscle, fairly coarse in texture, of a slighter, chewier texture when cooked to the rest of the rump. So I'm just following through that natural seam, and that will be removed and then trimmed further for further processing. Mainly goes into good quality dice. So now I'm going to follow the natural seam here, but first you can see this large triangular wedge of fat. I'm just going to put the knife under that piece of fat, and because we're following the natural seams between the muscles, you can actually do a lot of pulling and feeling your way down that seam with finger and thumb, and that enables us to get down the seam without damaging any of the quality muscle. So we follow that down to the edge or the contour of the muscle, and we can take that off like so in one piece, and that is our first major primal from that decut rump, ready for further trimming. That is the rump cap. So the main block now, the centre of the rump, looks a solid piece, but actually is still two or three separate muscles. I have a small coarse pad of muscle lying on the underside of the rump. This fibre here being the bone sheath that attaches the muscle to the bones. So we just need to lift that off, taking again care not to cut into the underlying muscle. It's important to remove this as it goes hard and fibrous in cooking. And now it also gives me a clear view of the underside pad that I need to remove. And again, it's just following a natural seam. And what you will find when you go into these seams, that a seam normally consists of a layer of silver gristle. Now, bearing in that in mind, when I said at the beginning, traditionally we'd be slicing this through, that slice of gristle would be in every cut that we produced. So with seam butchery, you can actually get into the product and remove the plate waste before serving it to the customer. So off comes that small pad of coarse muscle, and again, like the rump tail, that will be further trimmed to go into further processing of dice or mince. What I want to do now is follow this silver gristle in the centre. If I point that out with a knife, it's probably just under about 5mm thick. And that will travel right the way through the rump body. And that white line of fat there also indicates the line of the seam that we're going to follow. So it's putting my knife carefully into the centre of the rump to find the line of the silver gristle. And the best way of doing this is just to gently scrape along that silver gristle, which helps us follow it, but without damaging any of the quality rump. If I just stop there at the moment, I've gone almost 3/4 of the way into the rump, and you can still see that silver gristle. So it's continuing through right the way to the other end. So that silver gristle has run the full length of the cut. So we're just following that down now, and that will take us to the external side of where I pointed that white line of fat. And as we follow that down, straight through then into the fat, or the remaining fat, and that separates what we term our bistro fillet, which was followed along that silver. So that actually now gives us our 3 main seamed primals from the rump heart or centre cut, the rump bistro fillet, and the rump cap.